All right. I'd like to welcome everybody to the next episode. And I'm new at this. So I'm going to fumble through my introduction just a little bit here. But it's the next episode of Above Human Disagreement with Matt Lambeau. And so, little introduction to me. I'm a researcher. And I've got this. I ask an underlying question that I would ask Kathy. First of all, I'd like to welcome my guest, Kathy, here. Kathy, I have basically a premise that says, above all human disagreement, do we actually want the same thing? Okay. And so in exploring that, it's important to me for me to understand the way you see the world. That's essential. So Kathy and I had a little email communication. I've got her email up here. And Kathy, if you don't mind, I'd like for you to go to that email because I believe, I mean, as best you want, because I believe you articulated very nicely the way you see the world. And I think that would be a benefit to others if we could hear that. So, with no further ado, Kathy, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here, Matt. It's going to be fun. So, the email, I got a copy of it here. Do you want me to just refer to it from here? Because I don't see anything on the screen.
Yes, if that's fine. Are you cool with that? Is that a good direction you're comfortable taking?
Sure.
Again, let me get
it's
you
a
started.
long email.
Yeah, it is. Let me
It's a
get you
long
started
email,
here.
so I really we need to have a starting point.
Yeah, I'll get you started here. Okay.
Okay.
Because again, a little bit about me. Again, I was born into the Catholic, basically indoctrination is what I call it. And I've always been a Christian. And I believe that through Christ, you can reach the frequencies of peace. Okay. So, and in speaking with you, there was a lot of theory in that email in terms of where you find peace and how you do it and the way you see the world and what you believe is most important for the rest of us.
Okay. I'll give it a shot.
Perfect.
Okay. I started as you did with a Catholic family, Catholic education, all the way up to college. Bought the doctrine, hook, line, and sinker, lived my life as if it were true. I was taught that there was a heaven, a purgatory, and a hell. And the nuns made sure that we knew that if you did such and such, you got 300 days in purgatory. It would take one rosary, which is 500. So you had an extra 200 days off. We had this immense math problem that we wrestled with. We were told that pretty much, Mother Teresa will straight shot it, but the rest of us are going to have to go to purgatory, which is like hell, but you get out. So my whole life I was traumatized by this fear of death and knowing I was going to go to purgatory and tried to be the best human I could be. But good Lord, you're a person. You're a teenager. You're a young mom. You get divorced. I mean, shit happens. So when I was taking care of my very best friend who had leukemia, terrible time in my life. I took care of him for about 9 months up in Seattle at a research hospital. And when he died at the age of 53, I was completely devastated. And I had been, a physical wreck, emotional, spiritual, the whole bit. So when he died, I got sick. I picked up a flu that was going around. I ended up in the hospital in ICU. They put me into a drug-induced coma because I had lung failure. That was ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. I really didn't have a whole lot of time to think about it. I was deathly ill. My family showed up. The doctor says, we're going to give you something called white amnesia. You're going to go out like a light bulb. Your brain's going to be offline. You just, and hopefully you'll wake up, It was that bad.
Okay.
Yeah, right, you got a 38% chance of making it. So, my family says, what else can we do? We got to intubate you. We got to do all this crap. You don't want to be here. So I said, fine. It was, as I recall, New Year's Eve, ball was coming down on the television, 1999. So I crashed. That was like a computer crash at the beginning of the new century. And, I was just gone, except I wasn't. I somehow became conscious during all of that, and I just knew I was awake. I just didn't know where, and it was pitch black, and there was no sound. And I learned later that's called the void. It's kind of like a waiting room sometimes, but it's nothing.
Right,
It's
right,
just
nothingness.
it's you and nothing. So eventually that morphed into something a little more sinister, which was my take on hell. And
Right.
I spent a long time there, even though it's an eternal now over there, there is no time. But there was all kinds of terrible things, demons I ran into, and jobs they wanted me to do that were disgusting, and pain, and it was
Mhm.
nasty. All right. So I managed to get through that. I somewhere in the back of my head, I remembered the nun saying, "You must not despair. That's the unforgivable sin is to despair." And so I'm thinking, I got to keep going. I got to keep fighting. And at the very end, it was kind of a funny way. I burst out of hell and into heaven. And there's just no other way to explain it. It's just this, it's like you go into a store and you want to buy a helium balloon, and they take this flat little rubber thing and they put the end of a hose, and then they turn on the helium and that balloon just goes whoosh. Well, that's exactly how it felt, for
Uh-huh.
me. I just felt like whoosh. I just filled up with all this love and joy and bliss. And
Mm.
you can't make that stuff up because you
No,
don't
no.
experience it here. So that
Well,
was
and
really,
you can't make it up when you can't even find words to describe it.
yeah, it's ineffable.
Yes,
All I know
ineffable.
is,
Exactly.
I would hear other people, 10 years later explain this with their words. So all I can do is just kind of copy. So anyway, that was fantastic. And when things got out of that really bright, beautiful light, I could see my friend there that had died the month before.
Mhm.
And instead of looking like crap like he did in the hospital, he looked great. He looked
Yeah, yeah,
younger, he was
yeah.
healthy, he was grinning ear to ear. And I thought, oh, he doesn't know he's dead. Because I had
Really?
no idea through this whole thing that I was dead. I mean, there was no
Ah,
way. I was
no
just still
doubt.
me. Our
Yeah,
soul is who we are. Our bodies
yeah,
aren't who we
yeah,
are. Our
yeah.
minds aren't who we are.
So
So I
you
thought,
really
well,
suspected he didn't recognize that he had died.
I knew I
That
wasn't dead, and there he was, so
yeah,
there was
yeah,
only two
yeah,
ways this could
yeah.
have gone.
Okay, yeah.
And so anyway, he started laughing, and I thought, well, now I didn't say that out loud. And then I thought, oh, okay, this is getting clearer. There's a little mental telepathy going on, and he's got this look like, come on, you're almost there. And I thought, oh my God, if he's dead, then I'm dead. And this is like the best news ever. And I'm going to be with him, and we're going to, like, go show me
Yeah.
stuff.
So you're at
Dude,
complete
this is,
peace with it. I love
oh,
it.
it was
Keep
so
going.
cool. I was so happy. And then he just kind of got a little somber and said, "No, Mary Kay, you've got too much left to do."
Not your time.
That's a punch in the gut, is what that is. And I thought, they're throwing me out. No, I'm not going through that again.
Yeah,
Earth
yeah,
and
yeah.
whatever else. And I said, no, no. I could stamp my foot, cross my arms, and he just grinned, and I was gone. So I did do a little timeout thing, but when I got back and came to in the hospital, thank God I couldn't talk. I had the thing in my throat and
Hmm,
wires
hmm.
and tubes and everything, because my family was so happy to see me. And we
Hmm.
prayed, and we had a prayer circle going around. We brought you back, and I thought if I could get my hands around any of your throats, I would do it. And
That is
so I
such
was
a
not happy.
perfect testimonial.
I was not happy. Well, plus I weighed 86 pounds. I had no muscle mass, and I couldn't move. I could blink and move one finger. And it was pretty dire, nasty. I was in the ICU for a total of a month, and then I had to go to a physical rehab place to learn how to walk and crawl and go upstairs and button and swallow. It was like an infant. All my muscle memory was gone. So that was humiliating. And then my life looked pretty bleak. And, you know, just being 53 years old, I was very independent, and this sucked big
Yeah.
time.
So, in terms of the experience where you didn't want to come back, you felt like you were home, right? Okay. So from that, and obviously your story is corroborated by millions. Okay. There's you know, again, yours is going to be completely 100% unique to you alone. Of course, you are unique energy, but nonetheless, there's consistencies that corroborate. And it's important to me to extract those consistencies, especially the one where you felt like you were home and you didn't want to come back. Okay. Now, if you couple that with the fear that you were indoctrinated with in terms of doing it wrong, because it seems to me like I've lived in the same fear, but when you go through the process, there's this thing called unconditional love that if you have an ounce of remorse, you'll be saved. Does that sound like an accurate conclusion or
It's even
close?
better than that. It's even better than that, Matt,
Do
because you
tell.
don't need the ounce of remorse. God is all loving and all forgiving and couldn't condemn anybody. Number one, there's no physical hell like I experienced. It took me many moons to figure that out. I really believed my whole life that I'd go to purgatory. And so I wasn't disappointed. I manifested it. I took all these horrible things that happened in my life and I made them even worse. And I made it a trek through there and go to heaven. So I understand now, us recovering Catholics, we start we start off in the hole on this thing, because I don't know. Don't get me started.
Right, but now
I'm
too, in the Catholics' defense, they're not the only people putting fear in
no,
people's
no.
minds. Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
just saying you and me
Right,
have that common thing,
sure,
but some of the
absolutely.
religions, they're even worse. I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely.
if you're not, you don't say
Oh,
the Jesus prayer and all, all that stuff, you're condemned.
mhm,
Well, it's
right.
bullshit. That's not true.
Yay!
It's just not. The How can I put it? I think the life review concept is what I really, really resonate with. I mean, almost everyone that stayed up there any length of time got this life review. And at first it sounded like, oh no, but
Mhm.
it's explained like this really cool movie. You've got guardian angels and guides and, happy people with you. God is nowhere to, you can't pin God down. God is just loving energy,
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
gave us free will and we're on our own. Okay. God is not Santa Claus. You don't pray to God for things because he gave you free will. You chose your life. If he interrupted, you just have to come back and do it again. Just gut it out. Okay. So this life review is like a movie, and you get to see, I'm told, I wasn't there long enough, from the time you're conceived to the time you die, you see every single second. And it's like fascinating. You're looking at your whole life. And of course, you're going to come up against, I probably shouldn't have said that. Ooh, I did a really good job there. I helped that homeless guy. And you get to see your whole life. And it's just a matter of how'd you do? I planned my life. I wanted to accomplish these things. How'd you do? Then they flip that baby around, and now you get to experience being the people that you interacted with. So you get to feel their joy when you gave them a hug. They get to feel, you get to feel their terror, their anger when you hit that guy's bumper and then you blamed it on I mean, everything that you put out, that energy is all going to come back so that you can feel it. And it's not a judgment. It's not a punishment. It's just, how'd you do? And the people, not people, spirits with you, they're not judgmental either. It's just, it seems fair to me. I want to know how I did. And people say, well, then Hitler should have gone, but well, if you think of all the pain and agony and terror and fear he's had to experience from all those people and their relatives and what it's done to history, he's probably still doing his life review, you know. But that has nothing to do with God punishing him. He just gets to see the consequences of his action, kind of a karma thing.
Oh my
That's my view.
goodness. Was that articulated beautifully?
Why,
You
thank you.
realize the only way God can, well, there's a multitude of ways God can do anything, but the number one way that he speaks to his world is through human beings. What you just articulated could not be more accurate in my humble perception of this energy.
Well,
Articulated
thank you.
perfection.
It's from seeing it and experience it and feeling it, and then taking all the people who have been there. They all say the same thing. I mean,
Yay,
people,
amen.
they're in different languages in different parts of the world, and there's only one. I it's,
And
but then I feel like I've cheated. I've
right,
been there and I've seen it, but that makes
you
my whole existence now so much easier. Thinking that I plan things, because I used to feel like a victim when things happened to me, and I thought I would pray to God and say, take this away, and why did you do this to me? Now I can just shut up and say, all right, I planned this. What's the lesson?
and so you're saying there's an immense amount of peace that comes through your new understanding of the way this thing works.
It lightens everything up. You don't take things so
Yay.
seriously,
Oh my gosh. And do you know how important your message is? I can feel the love emanating from you because you've been there, you're explaining it, and I can go into that love with you through my own volition at any point, can I?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Welcome.
All right. All right. Kathy, I'm eternally grateful. Will you? I'm going to beg you to come on again. I'll badger you, okay? Because the message that you have for us is absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, my friend. Okay. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks,
Okay.
Matt.
All right. I
Bye-bye.
hope to talk to you again soon. All right. Bye bye. Thank you.